the heat shock protein, that really caught my attention. I came across it when I was reading about sulforaphane and how it can be neuroprotective for Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's, and even Huntington's. And these are all, diseases of protein aggregation, of which heat shock proteins play a major role in repairing, and preventing both. They do both. So I was very surprised to find, I guess it wasn't that shocking once I found out that sulforaphane activates, because it is a stress response pathway. Heat shock proteins do respond to stress, like heat stress. So I guess I wasn't that shocked, but I was a little surprised at first to see that it plays a role. And possibly that's how it's helping prevent and protect against some of these neurodegenerative diseases.
Very possible, yeah. We're, this is another case of studies that didn't happen. There were grand plans for a large multi-center study in Europe looking at the effects of sulforaphane on autism. The PI was in Spain, highly regarded. The study didn't get funded, and it didn't happen. But
autism or Alzheimer's disease?
Sorry, Alzheimer's. Yeah. I mentioned schizophrenia. In terms of schizophrenia, we now have 2 studies that are just starting. Again, they've all been approved. They've been through FDA approval and institutional approval. One in Baltimore at the Shepherd Pratt Hospital, which is a psychiatric hospital in Baltimore, and the other in China. And again, the idea is to look at remission or reduction of symptoms of the diseases of schizophrenia, and look at a variety of biomarkers in blood and perhaps urine.
Were you involved in that pilot trial that was published? And there was a small trial in schizophrenic people.
This is the Shirai?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. No, I know about it. And
so is this based off of that? Is this sort of, or no?
No. So they only had 10 subjects in that trial, and I've met. This was Dr. Hashimoto's work. I think he was the corresponding author on that. I've talked with him. We're familiar with the work. So, I mean, based on publication precedent or history, I guess you could say we're following off his work. But the way this actually evolved, I think, is that the principal investigators saw the autism work and heard us talking about anti-inflammatory responses and heat shock effects and so on, and became interested in doing the trial. I'm certainly they and others in the schizophrenia community are familiar with the paper you're talking about. And there's also some very interesting animal modeling in schizophrenia, some from the same group. So yeah, I mean, I think all signposts are pointing in the direction.
There's definitely a common denominator with oxidative stress and inflammation in both autism and schizophrenia, but also in depression. And this is another, brain dysfunction, I guess if you want to call it that. But inflammation has been shown now to play actually a major causal role in depression. And there's been some animal studies that you may have seen where the sulforaphane, broccoli sprout extract and sulforaphane have shown to be even as good as fluoxetine, which is Prozac, in alleviating like all these different methods of stress they have to make an animal depressed, and then they give it Prozac or broccoli sprout extract, and it worked just as well, which is extremely interesting.
I totally agree. We won't talk about the way those experiments are done here because I think they can be sort of
inhumane.
distressing to hear about. Yeah, but needless to say, it's better to do them on mice than on people. Yes, so those, in fact, just last week I was at the Stanley Medical Research Institute, had its annual meeting in Baltimore, and there was a lot of talk about inflammation and depression. They're focusing on bipolar disorder and schizophrenia, and in fact they funded the study at Shepherd Pratt that's just starting, as I say. So, yeah, I mean, there's so many conditions that we hope may respond, even if only partially.
Right.
And the fact that it can be a dietary approach is, I think,
wouldn't that be cool? I
that
mean,
would
if people could, instead of getting on, something with side effects possibly take, broccoli sprouts or some sort of, broccoli sprout extract or supplement that's out there that's really effective. That would be so, because it's so good for you. I mean, the sulforaphane, the broccoli sprouts are so good for you. So I just would be really excited to see that happen.
Well, you've